What's up, everybody? Good morning. Made it to Tuesday, and today we've got a position that is very unlikely, as of right now, to be of interest to the Seahawks come free agency. Let's just be real here. There are just going to be some positions where it doesn't make sense. We're talking about cornerback, and I more or less mean both cornerback positions. You've got outside cornerback and you've got slot cornerback. And the skill set for those two things are very different. So we talk about them individually. You look at the Seahawks right now, you've still got Reek Woolen. You've got Devin Witherspoon, who had a fantastic rookie year. You've got Trey Brown, last year of his deal. He played fairly well last year. Some problems, but overall, I think he's been a positive force when healthy. Mike Jackson is a restricted free agent. You're probably bringing him back. If you don't, it's probably because you have somebody else on the team that you like maybe Kobe Bryant. He's still here. He's still got a couple years left on that rookie deal. So you are looking pretty good at cornerback. And everybody that I just listed is capable, at the very least, of playing outside cornerback without losing a bunch of their potential. It's not like any of those guys are incapable of playing on the outside. So if we're just talking about outside cornerback, it doesn't make sense. Honestly, even if the Seahawks traded Reek Woolen, even if the Seahawks did actually move Reek Woolen, I don't know if they would necessarily feel the need to go out and throw a bunch of money at a cornerback. And there are cornerbacks out there that you could throw money at, but at that point, I think you'd probably just say, let's see what Mike Jackson can do. Let's see what Trey Brown can do. Let's see what Kobe Bryant can do. Or you draft somebody. But I do want to talk my way through a few cornerback options here. Again, keeping it to the outside cornerback area. I guess it's possible they bring somebody in. That somebody would have to be somebody who would be relatively cheap and easy to get. Maybe somebody like a Michael Davis, been on the Chargers the last 8 years, just turned 29, so not that old yet. Had a fairly decent career for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he's been there ever since they did move to LA. Been a fairly prolific player these last several years. Has some versatility playing on the left side and the right side. Not coming off his best year in 2023, but 2022 was good. I don't think he would cost that much. Spotrac estimates 2.3 million a year for 2 years, so that's 2 years, 4.7 approximately. Call it 4.7. And yeah, I mean, you can't go too wrong when you're spending that little amount of money. Maybe Mike McDonald doesn't like Mike Jackson. Maybe he doesn't believe in Kobe Bryant and he wants to bring in some veteran depth that he does like. We also got some guys here who I think are interesting simply because they were under Mike McDonald in Baltimore last year. Some of them have been there for the last couple years, but there are a few guys who are free agents this offseason who played cornerback for the Ravens in 2023 that you could get for cheap, that maybe there's some familiarity there. Even the ones who didn't play a lot, like Rock Ya-Sin, right? Got Rock Ya-Sin, former second-round pick, by the way. Been a disappointment for sure. Bounced around the league the last 3 years, 3 different teams the last 3 years. But he's somebody who was in Baltimore last year. He played in 14 games. He didn't play that much. He only played maybe, was it even 100 snaps? Let me check here. Yeah, well, it was close to 300 snaps. That's not terrible, but you can see he didn't have a big impact on their season or anything. But if there's something there that McDonald likes, then this is something you could definitely pursue. PFF score, not that it means that much for a season where he played less than 300 snaps, but it's generally been okay these last few years. Had some nice moments. And he would probably just cost a couple $1,000,000. At this point, I think he made $4 million last year and didn't do anything. Why would he make more than $3 million this year? Another guy who's kind of in a similar vein, another guy who's kind of in the same boat would be Ronald Darby. He was a part of the Baltimore Ravens last year. He's been in this league for quite some time. He won a Super Bowl with the Eagles many years ago. Started out in Buffalo, and he's been bouncing around for a while now. But last year he did start 7 games for the Ravens. Didn't do anything spectacular or over the top, but he's out there grinding. He's out there playing. He's out there doing his thing. And if Mike McDonald feels like there's some level of comfort there that he wants to have around, then I think that would make a pretty decent degree of sense. He just turned 30 a couple months ago, so he's not cripplingly old yet. PFF score, pretty good these last couple years. Workable, certainly. And final guy who's on this list for the same reason would be Daryl Worley. And this is another guy who's been bouncing around for some time now. But the last 2 years, he's been on the Ravens. And the last 2 years, McDonald's been the DC there. So I'm sure they are familiar with each other. He's played in 20 games over the last 2 years. Hasn't made a big impact. It's been a while since he's been a big-time impact player. I remember he spent some time for the Panthers and Raiders earlier in his career. And he was all right. But the last 2 years, he's been just kind of sitting on the bench, not playing massive snaps, less than 200 snaps combined over the last 2 years. But again, there's probably a little bit of a relationship there between him and Mike McDonald. PFF score was pretty good last year, not so much in 2022. But yeah, he's certainly been an up and down player. Awful in 2021. That was awful. But you can see that there might be some degree of familiarity there. And that's really what we're looking for here. We're not looking for a guy who's going to be really great or really expensive. Not necessarily even somebody you want playing. Just somebody who Mike McDonald likes, that he feels comfortable with, because he can be like, okay, if you go out there, you will know what you need to do because you played for me last year or the last 2 years. So that's outside. I want to take a look at a couple of slot guys now. These are a couple corners who mostly play slot. And again, the Seahawks don't really seem to have a big problem at the slot because Devin Witherspoon is a slot corner and he's very, very good at it. And you also have other guys that might be able to play that slot role, like Kobe Bryant did it passably a couple years ago. Trey Brown might be able to do it because he has the body type of a slot corner. He just has happened to look better outside, generally speaking, but he's also probably capable of playing slot. There's some Julian Love can play some slot, so I don't see this as a need either. But if we're gonna mess around in it, like maybe Mike McDonald's already decided that he doesn't really think that Kobe Bryant's a real slot or that Trey Brown can play slot, then you could go after a guy like a Arthur Mallett, who was a Raven last year. Another one of these guys that McDonald probably has a little bit of familiarity with. He played in 14 games, had 2 sacks actually coming on those slot blitzes, and actually also had an interception despite not playing that much. But he was a little bit of an unsung hero on that Ravens defense last year. Not a hero, but he had a non-trivial role. He recovered a couple fumbles. Like, this was a guy who low-key had a non-zero impact on that Ravens team, but he should still be really cheap. He should be a couple $1 million. PFF was relatively high on him. They thought he played well last year. Years previously, maybe not so much, but when he was with that Ravens defense, things went well. Final guy that I want to take a look at here for this cornerback video would be Keisean Nixon. And this guy would be really interesting because not only has he been a half-decent slot corner these last couple years for the Packers, but he's also been an all-pro kick returner. He has been one of the best return men in the league. He also does some punt returning, but mostly he's a kickoff guy. Had over 1,000 kickoff return yards in 2022. We know the NFL is trying to make kickoff returns a bigger part of the game again. So that being the case, we might need to make sure we secure the services of one. And defensively, he played a lot last year too. He had 80 tackles in 13 starts on defense. So he's also capable of playing some slot. PFF wasn't in love with his season last year, but it wasn't bad. And again, part of the reason why you would get him is because he's offering stuff on special teams that a lot of these guys don't. Botrack thinks he would make 1 year $1.7 million, so very, very cheap. What could go wrong here? All right, so that's about the best that I can do in this category. That's about the best that I can find. Again, we're not looking for starters. We're not looking for stars. We're looking for guys who will fit the system, who will make Mike McDonald feel good about having on the roster, and can find ways to contribute outside just playing on defense. Because as of right now, if nothing changes with this secondary, there's not going to be a lot of room for cornerbacks to get on the field. Witherspoon is a guy who needs to be on the field at all times. Woolen, if we keep him, is a guy who needs to be on the field at all times because they're so talented and so potential-laden. So that's about as far as I'm going to take it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if anything stands out to you. Any particular avenues you would pursue. I know there was an ESPN article a couple of days ago talking about us getting Chidobe Awuzie, but I can't make it make sense. I don't think something like that makes very much sense. Even if we do trade Woolen, I don't think it makes very much sense. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks, and let me know what you think.